What is up, family? Today I'm talking about one of the most talked about albums, honestly, since the pandemic even began. As many noticed, a lot of the big names, the Kendricks, the Drakes, have really decided to hold off on releasing music for a variety of different reasons. But Cole is one of the first heavy hitters in the mainstream to actually drop his work. So obviously, people have had a lot of opinions. It's J. Cole, he's very polarizing. And today, I'm really happy to be joined by JL. He's the creator of the Bytown Blog. He's also the creator of the blog about nothing. And you may have noticed, you've seen him on this show. We were talking about some politics stuff, which
Yes,
is in
sir.
the previous life of this podcast, as we're now strictly focused on rap. But he is also a very big J. Cole fan, not necessarily a stan, as you'll get into. But first, I want to just say welcome to the show, and I'm really excited to talk about this album.
Respect. Thank you for having me, bro. I'm really excited to talk about the album. My hot take, bro, is this is his best album. Period. Not his best project, his best album. Anyways, let's get into it, bro.
Okay, so I'll start with my first impressions, then I'll get yours right after. So
Mhm.
when I first heard this album, I have to say I was pretty damn impressed. And I was
Mhm.
almost more impressed than what the actual music was. I was just really happy that he kind of did some things that I've been wanting him to do for so
Yes.
long now. Basically, since he became super popular, basically since like Sideline Story, Born Sinner, I had been wanting him to incorporate more outside production, and I've been wanting him to incorporate more guests. It doesn't even necessarily need to be like rap features, but some vocalists, because I think he's still like a mainstream kind of artist, and he has some good like pop sensibilities, a good songwriter. He knows how to make a good song, and like tracks like Power Trip, I know I used to really like. And then when he just like, he was just good at that stuff, and I think I wanted to see more of that, especially since as a producer, I find although he's good, he can get quite safe. And I found his last few projects, even if the concepts and the ambition was there lyrically, production wise, it just didn't match, and it kind of fell flat sometimes for me. Um,
Mm.
so also one thing that I found was interesting is that he really pushed himself to experiment with different flows and even different like vocal effects. And I
Yes.
thought all of that lent itself relatively well on my first impression. We'll get into more later. But I will say that I was quite impressed, especially as the album starts with 95 South. So I was pretty impressed by the energy first and foremost. So what were your first thoughts?
Man, for me, it just brought me back. I actually reviewed it on Bytown Blog if y'all ever get the chance to check that out. But it brought me back to one of my favorite Cole albums, which was Born Sinner, right? And the thing that I liked about Born Sinner, I remember you mentioned Power Trip, right? Cole was willing to work with other artists and singers, especially, right? Especially on Cricket's Mouth. You know what I mean? A track like that, you know, where he has TLC. That was one of my favorite songs ever. Still, I still bump it to this day. You know what I mean? And I like when Cole gets in his introspective bag, but also has some singing, some singers, has mixes it up, right? As I heard the album, when I first heard it, it started with Cameron. Come on, if you guys know something about me, I love Cam. I love Killer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if just starting off with Cam, I wish Cam had a verse, but the fact that he was talking let me know that Cole was going somewhere different. Okay, if you look at KOD, I personally didn't like KOD. I'm just gonna keep it a bean. Okay, I didn't really like For Your Eyes either. Really, I thought they had some tracks were good,
Yeah.
but I was just not feeling it, right? But starting from the top of this album, I just enjoyed it because Cole was willing to go reach out. Features are important, and I love when Cole doesn't shy away from that. You know what I mean? Think about the 21 Savage song. You know what I'm saying? That was beautiful. You know what I'm saying? With Maury there. So, I just was really, really happy because it felt like Cole was going back to his roots, man. And he was going back to sharing the mic and using his lyricism. And I was really happy with the album. That was my first take when I heard it.
Yeah, I definitely like that Cam thing. I also think when him being on that track 95 South and then the way it ended, like that was something I genuinely, that energy, the rowdiness of that track, I
Yes.
have not heard that on a J. Cole song in a maybe ever. Like that aggressive, that like bombastic, the beat
Mm.
sampling the same, flipping the same sample that Jay did on You Don't Know, that very iconic track. Like that was a huge highlight for me and definitely still is. It definitely stood the test of 2 weeks time as this album's been out.
That's.
So I want to get into, you touching on the lyricism. So
Mm.
my thing with Cole, my relationship with Cole's lyricism is like pretty, there's like some good and bad that I always see. And I find at the beginning when I first heard this album, I found I was more impressed. And then as I listened to it on further listens, I started to kind of notice the same things that I'm not usually that fond of his. But so if I
Okay.
start with some tracks like 95 South, that was more like braggadocious, like I'm here. Like he wasn't trying to say too many crazy different like political commentary and all that, but I think it worked really well. He was staying in that bag and the energy, the flows was all there. I think in general, the rapping performance, like just technically, this is
Mm.
probably the best I've heard since his mixtape days. Like straight up changing flows,
Yes.
like challenging himself. Like just slightly nuanced little things like that. I think he did a really great job. But when we talk about the bars, like we have Applying Pressure, which was like such a
Mm.
hungry track. And I think he actually for the most part dropped some of like the best like bars on this album on that track. Like I like that bar about saying basically saying how like people usually succumb to like women as the reason for their downfall, and he's like, I won't cap and say
Yeah.
I haven't scratched my jealousy's itch. The way he kind of like worked that into the bars, the delivery with that, like I thought that was really dope. But this album and that song and just in general kind of made me realize a really odd point that might be out of left field, but comparing him to some of the other mainstream heavyweights like Drake in particular, it kind of made me
Mm.
realize that although Cole I think is a better talent when it comes to flows, delivery, his voice is sick,
Mm.
Drake has proven to me again, pending, I don't know if he writes all this shit, like I'm not trying to get into that, what he
You know
actually
he don't.
puts on.
Keep going.
What? Okay. Well, I mean, I think he writes most of it at least, but like we'll get
Okay.
past that point. I think bar for bar, lyrically, like someone like Drake, I find has better wordplay, has better like clever kind of like turns of phrase, whereas Cole's doesn't really impress me like that. And then he also has quite a
Okay.
bit more cringy bars, like that one on Climbback where he says one call gets you canceled like a homophobe in this PC culture. I'm not offended by it. I just don't like get why he's saying that. Like I just didn't think it made like it was pointless kind of. And yeah, I just find like if I want to get your thoughts on the quality of the bars because I find
Mm.
this album had a lot of potential to kind of catapult him in that like elite of the elite because I think people have been sleeping on him and been kind of tearing him down due to his last few projects. And I don't think this album did that. I do think though it was just another good addition and one of his better additions to his catalog, which makes his discography a little better. But what are your thoughts on like the bars, like lyricism wise, before we get into the themes?
Yeah, definitely. In terms of lyricism, right? I'm just gonna keep it a bean. Cole is not a pure lyricist, even in the mainstream sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get with your Drake point. Drake has better wordplay in general, right? Because Drake has 1,000 writers. Okay, so does Kanye. So like, what I respect about Cole is that when he's spitting bars, right, you just feel the authenticity in it. He doesn't have to play around with with words that much because that's not really his bag. I like Cole when he's hungry and he's going in and he's being honest and he's being truthful, right? Like the track My Life, right? With Maury and 21 Savage. I just felt it. I felt it deep in terms of what he was saying, not necessarily how he's flipping the words, bro. He's not Raekwon, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's just keep it real. But the reason that I always enjoyed Cole, right? And I enjoyed this album is that he's just honest and he's truthful and he's talking from an authentic place, right? So in terms of the lyricism, I'll be honest, there's not a single like bar that I'm gonna remember forever, or like a flip, or like a little word play, crazy metaphor, right? But you know, he has some punchlines that just you feel it, right? That's generally what I'm trying to get to, right? In terms of being a pure lyricist, yes, there's better people in the mainstream. I'd even argue Nicki Minaj has better lyricism. So does Lil Wayne on some tracks, right? But I just think that people who are Cole fans enjoy this album because it's showing us Cole going back to his hungry days, man. The Friday Night Lights days, you know, that mixtape.
Mm-hmm.
This Cole World, the Sideline Story, his first album, mainstream album, right? He's going back to that hungry vibe, you know, and I think that goes with even the name of the album, The Off Season, because I feel deep down he was off with his last two projects, right? And him coming out with The Off Season just made me think, okay, he's trying to make a narrative, right? He's trying to build on a story, right? And actually, he's working on another project called The Fall Off. He
Yeah.
mentioned that that's coming next year, but we might get into that a bit later. But for me, in a lyrical perspective, yes, he's not the best lyricist. I admit that, but he's such a great storyteller. He's so elite with the hunger, you know, almost Meek Mill like, you know what I'm saying? So that's how I felt about the lyrical aspects. As you said, he's not the strongest lyricist, but you know, in this generation of rap, he's up there. He's up there. And for me, I'll speak for a lot of Cole fans. We don't love him because of his lyricism. We love him because of his storytelling and the passion and authenticity in the bars. Mm-hmm.
No, I feel that. I think you kind of have a similar, I guess the degrees of what we enjoy here is different, obviously, but you similarly like him for the reasons I do. I like him when he's, like you say, KOD and For Your Eyes Only sort of disappointed you. And I
Yeah.
agree for sure. Particularly For Your Eyes Only, I think shows the reasoning why I think both of us didn't like it. And I think that's because I think he's best when he's not trying to do too much when it comes to the theme, trying to create a concept, because I don't think he has that Kendrick Lamar ability, which is like being able to kind of create this huge giant narrative that has all these like double meanings and all that stuff. I don't like, because he tried to do that as like a first person story with For Your Eyes Only. KOD had the whole kids on drugs, that kind of like
Mm-hmm.
theme. And I think KOD did a little better, but they fell flat because I felt like he was trying to do things other than just rap hungry, rap and just
Mm-hmm.
give you that energy. Because no matter what I think about Cole as a person, and I don't think he's a bad guy at all, but I think he's at least honest and he's at least
No,
genuine. And you
he's
do feel that
very
even when he
genuine.
says shit that I'm like, what the fuck are you saying? I know that he meant it. He meant it. And at least that's worth something. He's not pandering. He's not trying to say
Yeah.
something. Like he's just how he feels. Um, and one thing I noticed about some of like the corny bars that have gone around that I mentioned, and just in general with Cole, I think a lot of like his big supporters say some things around along the lines of, you wouldn't care if this came from another rapper like Kanye or something, or Drake,
Mm-hmm.
let's say. And I think these people are actually right, but I think they're missing the point, because I don't know who is responsible mainly, but I think it is Cole himself, is that he kind of frames himself as this like common man with conscious bars. And that's kind of the way he presents himself. And because of that, if the real substance and kind of like meaning behind his bars are not that deep and they're not that like substantive, I find it makes me like feel a certain way. I'm just like I don't like it. Whereas if like who like if like literally like if 21 Savage makes like the same kind of like social commentary on a line, I kind of hits different even if it's not that deep, because it's just I don't expect it from him, and it kind of seems like he's just giving you something that's a little different, and I appreciate it. Whereas Cole, I feel like, okay, that's your shit, you should be doing it better like these other rappers. And I want to like I have a
Mm-hmm.
different kind of like analogy I want to make, but I want to get your thoughts on that particular idea, that the way he frames himself kind of like works to his like works to his downfall, or works to his like not to his benefit.
I'm gonna have to push back on you on that. I'm gonna have to
Okay.
push back on you on that because for me, you know, here's the thing, right? I think that people who are just rap fans, period, right? They view Cole differently than J. Cole fans. I'm a J. Cole fan, right?
Yeah.
And it just hip hop rap fans in general, they view Cole as just some super deep lyrical, you know what I'm saying, machine, conscious machine. And yes, he has that. But if you really know J. Cole and you've been following him from time, yes, he has conscious bars, but what really made us Cole fans, and I'll speak for us, is that we always liked his hunger, his story, his passion, right? We weren't really, you know what I'm saying, looking for him to have these political bars, deep metaphors, you know what I'm saying? Like you were just mentioning Kendrick, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at the J. Cole versus Kendrick type thing, right? Kendrick is more on that conscious rap, you know what I'm saying? To Pimp a Butterfly, you know what I'm saying? That's his bag, right? But Cole, I think this is why I always loved Born Sinner, because Cole is vulnerable. Cole is hungry. That's what we love about him, right? We don't love him for the conscious raps. And I feel that For Your Eyes Only was going almost too conscious, which is, not a bad thing. It's a good thing. We rock with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We love introspective conscious bars about the struggle. Facts, 100%. But we like when he gets in his bag about the struggle of his life, about, you know what I mean, trying to hoop, We love when he goes off on 95 South, you know what I mean? Grimy, I like that stuff. And I like when he gets, as I said before, I like when he gets in his R&B bag too. I like when Let Nas Down, tracks like that. You know what I mean? That's what we're into. We're not into. I'll speak for myself, right? I'm not speaking for all the Cole Nation, right? I'm just saying that for me and for a lot of Cole fans, we like the fact that he's hungry, not the super conscious stuff, right? And we love it, but not as much as the hungry Cole. As you just said, 21 Savage can rap the same bar as Cole. Because the bar is so low for rappers like 21. I'm sorry. The bar is low for Amigos. You know what I'm saying? The bar, you know what I'm saying? The bar is so high for Cole. That's why I think he gets a lot of hate and critique, because the bar is high for him. You know what I mean? And you know what? I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I just don't like when there's this bullshit Twitter talk where people are just going off on him. Oh, Cole is ass. Cole. Like, what's wrong with y'all? Like, you know what I mean? I just don't get it personally. Anyways.
No, I like how you're giving. This is why I wanted to have this discussion, because that perspective kind of explains a lot of things, because I think it's the general, I wouldn't say general rap fan, like even like the really big rap fan, but someone that isn't necessarily a super big Cole fan does view him that way. And maybe because we don't have that connection to him, even though like, I mean, I guess I've listened to him since 2009, but I was a bigger fan of him back in like Friday Night Lights. That's my favorite project of his, but I was also younger. So I liked all those artists that I heard way more usually than I do now. But I mean, I would say, like I said, I'm a fan, but not one of like a big fan. And I think that explains it, because I kind of view him as a bit more of what the general population does, which is like he's trying to give you that like that common man wisdom. And I find he falls short on that. But that leads me to my real thing, which again, I feel like we're similar in how we view him, just to different degrees, because the lyrical themes and the energy and the aggression, and particularly the cockiness too. This is one of his most cocky records in, like, I feel like this is his most cocky record since like the warm up. But the difference is that he has the accolades now. The warm up was like that hunger, I'm the best ever. Like, you don't know me, but you're gonna know me. Now it's like, I'm the same, but I've actually earned my game. I like make all this money, whatever. I think that actually isn't a bad thing for Cole. And I actually think that's kind of his strength, to your point, because my personal preference in general for music is more towards like the more like deeper, more complex lyricism, all that shit. But it doesn't mean that's my preference for every single artist. And I think that's a key distinction, because for me, there's a reason why Cole's features, those like random Lucy tracks, I'm thinking like False Prophets, Everybody
Mm.
Dies, like that shit, those songs are fucking amazing. And it's
So good.
because he's just loose, he's just rapping. He has may have a point of view. Like False Prophets was amazing. Like I think his what he was saying, especially about Kanye, was like shit. He tore
Yeah.
him to shreds, but like made a really good point. And I think he's playing to his strength when he just spazzes, comes with that flair. And yeah, dropping some social commentary, I do like it, but I like it when he's not really as focused about that, about making a theme, because it
Mm.
reminds me of how people view the Weeknd in the R&B phase, in the R&B
Oh,
space.
interesting. Interesting.
Because people often say, and his biggest fans kind of say House of Balloons, the trilogy were his best kind of music. I love a lot of that music, particularly House
Mm.
of Balloons, but it's not because of the Weeknd and it's not because of what he's saying. I think the Weeknd honestly is a very shallow lyricist, and he's just really shallow subject matter. Like
Mm.
I can't empathize to that strong of a degree where you are some attractive dude who has all these strippers and hot girls around you and you can't find love. Like I get it, might be shitty, but like that doesn't hit me.
Yeah.
Whereas now, Starboy kind of signaled the change. And after Hours, I think he kind of blended a bit more. He was a bit more mature lyrically. So some of that previous point's a little less, but still, he's not a great lyricist. So he's like, yo, I'm like the next Michael Jackson. I'm like a pop
Mm.
star. I'm going to make catchy as fuck songs, and I'm an amazing singer. And he just
Mm.
makes more like dance poppy music. And I think that's like way better. Like After Hours, my favorite album of his. I think he put it all together. He has done that
Mm.
slow shit. And I find that's similar with Cole. It's like I like it when he's just trying to play to his strengths. He doesn't need to be this like larger than life like social philosopher. Like stick to your
Mm.
guns. And I think that's kind of what you're kind of saying. You like him for the hunger, and I kind of like him for the hunger too. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, man. I really like the fact you made that Weekend comparison, right? Because you know what it is, man. I look at artists like this, right? Artists evolve like humans. We all evolve, man. We all change. We're not who we were a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Facts, right? And for me, what I look at Cole is that when I see Cole, right, and I listen to his music, right, I could tell, you know what I'm saying, 2014 Forest Hill Drive, amazing album. Amazing album, right? My only critique for that album was a little bit too long. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, there was a couple songs should have
Yeah.
been chopped and it would have been better. Yeah.
Yeah, he could have cut trimmed some fat, right? But then, you come to the off season, and I don't know if you checked this because I'm actually on the Wikipedia right now. It was about 36 minutes. The
Yeah.
off
Yeah. It's
season was
much
36. It
shorter.
was
And I like
shorter.
that. That was a huge strength. Huge strength.
Huge strength. He got to the point, man. He got to the point. Some of the tracks were like 2 minutes long, and like, what the hell? But it had a punch to it. It had a punch to it because what I like is he wasn't trying to do too much, right? That's the point you were getting to,
Yeah,
right? The
exactly.
Weeknd went through a time where he was doing too much. You know, J. Cole similarly was doing too much at a certain point. We know Drake was doing too much. We know Kendrick sometimes has done too much, but he's pretty much in pocket for the most part,
Yeah.
right? But Cole got straight to the point. That's why I like the offseason because he was not playing around. He made it 36 minutes, had a few features, which worked. Which
Yeah.
worked. It left me thinking that we need a 21 Savage J. Cole mixtape. We need that.
I think you
We
tweeted
need
that.
that.
I agree.
Yeah,
Man.
we need that more than the Kendrick one. Personally, for me, I think I would love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
In my point of view, right?
and let's get
Go
to the
ahead.
features. We'll get to the production after that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the features, that was what we talked about, was a big difference. And the way you said quickly about Drake, going back to that point, I like that because that's probably my, like, if I had to sum up why I find Drake's music, he still hasn't dropped that truly great album, in my opinion. Take Care is probably the closest, is
Yep.
because he's become so big that he's just been like, oh, you know what? I'll sacrifice the quality of my album to cater to my 1,700 different types of audiences. I'll make that disgusting, watered down
Mm-hmm.
dance hall shit that I fucking hate that he does. Like he just does it. It's just, I feel like if I was a huge fan of dancehall, which I'm not, I'd be offended, but like whatever. Then he makes the songs for the hip hop heads, which I tend to like more. And then he makes his R&B shit, and then he tries to make like his like introspective girl shit, which sometimes works. Anyways, I find that's a big problem with his. You should just stick to one or two things. It'll be way better. But going to the
Mm-hmm.
features now. I fully
Yeah,
agree.
bro.
I fully agree. Man, the hooks, the sung hooks on this album were pretty damn amazing. And that's not
Yeah.
something like I'm trying to think. Obviously, Power Trips one, Crooked Smile. I actually didn't really love that song like you did, but or
Mhm.
the hook was fine. But I really liked Maury on My Life. And
Oh
that's a
my
hard
God.
type of hook. I'm not usually the type
Yeah.
that really likes the excessive drama with like the soaring vocals. Cause like if you're, especially in rap, because I find you get the Eminem effect. Like I don't know how much you listen to Eminem's music, but basically
Mm.
anything post 2010, he's had like features like Skylar Grey that make those like radio stadium friendly pop hooks that are just disgusting. Like they're terrible. They make me feel gross. But
Mm.
this guy really killed it. And then Boz, like what? Who the fuck did I? I'm not a huge fan of him. I'm not a huge Dreamville fan. Like I like him, he's fine. But like I
Yeah,
didn't even know
I
he
like Buzz.
sang. Did you know? Like
Yeah.
I'm not like because it's not credited, right? So like I looked at this after because I thought it was like I don't know who was singing. I thought it was James Fauntleroy singing
Yeah.
on the closer. I thought it was the same dude singing on um what song was it? Get Let Go My Hand at the end, but that
Let
was
go of my hand.
Boz.
Yeah.
But that was
Buzz. Yeah.
Boz. I was like, yo, that shit is beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
damn. And then 21. Like, I agree, man. That their chemistry is nuts. And that beat felt like a lot part two. Um,
Mm.
when I was listening to the album, like I listened to it like past midnight when it dropped. And so everybody was like live tweeting about it. So the
Gotcha.
21 feature was spoiled. So I knew it was on the album, but I didn't know where. No one said it.
Mm.
And I tried to avoid it. So then once we get past Cole's verse and then we get the Maury vocal and then the beat starting to go back to the verse part, I was like, this
Mm.
must be where 21's on. And I was literally 5 seconds away before he starts and he just comes in and just slides, man. And he
Yeah.
like I know you're saying his bar is low, like for lyricism, which I do think like the bar is different for Cole and 21. Agree, but
Mm.
he's improved so much, man. Savage Mode 2
Yes.
was my favorite, probably my one of my favorite or my favorite mainstream album of last year. Like he has improved
Mm.
like miles. He has a bar that's like I pray that my past ain't ahead of me. That hits so hard. Like he basically saying, I
Yeah.
don't want my violent, like traumatic past to like be again in my future. Like I don't want that anymore. Like
Mm.
man, he killed it. Cole killed it. Like that was one of my like that's probably my favorite song. So like yeah, what do you think of like all the
Mm.
hooks and the features from others?
Man, you know, you took the words out of my mouth, bro. I don't have much to say, but I'll add this, bro. You know, when he went through that phase of, you know, when Cole went through that phase of having no features, right?
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked it, but also felt it was inauthentic a little bit because some of Cole's best tracks have features, man. Mr. Nice Watch with Jay-Z, right? You know, tracks like that work out goes by himself, but you know what I mean?
In the
I,
morning. I
in the
like that Drake. Yeah,
morning,
that's a
that
classic.
was
That's a classic.
great, classic. And you know what? I like the fact that he wasn't, you know what I'm saying, in this album, he was willing to share the mic. And I really like that. I like Pride is the Devil. His singing on there was pretty good because Cole is not a singer, but
Yo, I agree.
he can put in some a little bit of, you know, he can sing a little bit, you know what I mean? And having Lil Baby there, it just showed me that Cole is willing to not only reach out to the newer artists, right? But he's, you know, he's embracing, you know what I'm saying, current hip hop. Like he's not trying to be that old man in the corner, you know what I'm saying, just sticking by himself, right? And I respect that. I respect that because I'm not saying he has to go full, you know what I'm saying, mumble rap, anything like that. But the fact that he collabs with 21, right, means that there's a relationship there. I don't know if you saw the documentary that
No,
came
I
out.
haven't yet, but I know he was in
Yeah,
it. I know he was in it. Yeah.
yeah, you can tell that they're just homies. You know what I'm saying? They were kicking back, just talking like boys. You know what I'm saying? And I just, you know, I rock with that. I rock with that, and I think we need more of that in hip hop, right? Because unfortunately, we have this trend where, you know what I'm saying, the conscious rappers are more, you know what I'm saying, lyrical rappers are, you know, almost causing a divide and we keep it a bean, they're shitting on, you know what I'm saying, the more mainstream, you know, trap, mumble rap guys. And I don't like that. You know what I'm saying? And I think that when Cole, that the song with Young Thug, the London and Travis Scott, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think when he did that track, Meet Me at the London, or the London, whatever, with Travis Scott and Young Thug, I think that he was almost like giving an olive branch, like reaching out. You know what I mean? And I think that the off season is a really good example of where you can have the more conscious rappers and the trap hip hop, you know what I'm saying, mumble rappers together, and it works. It's like, it's not cringe, you know?
Yeah.
As you said, My Life, great track, not cringy, perfect. I would say that's one of my favorite tracks on the whole album, right? Then you have Pride is the Devil, great track. And you know what? He has 21 and he's working with Lil Baby. We need that. I love that. I love when he does that. You know what I'm saying? So long story short, I think he did really, really great features. And of course, Baz, yes, Baz can sing.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know that, but yeah, if you listen to Dreamville, he can sing. But yeah, definitely, it was a surprise because they didn't say who the features were.
Yeah.
But I was really happy with the features in this album. I was happy that he even put features on this album.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I want to get to that, the kind of other piece of the collaboration, and that's the production, and then kind of how like that lent itself to some of the different kinds of like song styles here. So the production was definitely a highlight for me. Like, you had people like Tay Beast, DJ Dahi. These are like some, like DJ Dahi produced with a bunch, but these are some people that specifically make a lot of like fantastic music with TDE. Boy Wonder, everybody knows him. He's produced for like everybody. He's great. And I thought these beats just hit harder than, and way more immediate and like big than anything I've heard from Cole. Like, I think ever, honestly. I think this is like some of these songs, like Hunger on the Hillside, that even are less like energetic, but have so much going on. Let Go My Hand. That was probably my favorite beat. It had these like rich jazz sounds all around it, like absolutely beautiful. And then there was like some, and I think overall he took like this sound where it was like either like boom bappy or it was like trappy in the drums, but it had like these soul sounds or these like nocturnal shit going on, like Punching the Clock. Climb Back, like if you listen to it, like I didn't hear it at first if you listen to it on like shitty speakers, but there's like these eerie keys playing throughout that it's like a piano, like it's really weird. It's like almost psychedelic. Really nice detail, and I think it worked really well. 95 South, we already talked about that.
Of course.
So I think the outside production pushed him to like try new things too. And that's where I think I liked it. And I liked the approach. I liked it in theory. I do think I didn't love it for some of it. Like you mentioned, Pride is the Devil. I think the beat that was probably my least favorite beat. I think it was too much, just completely sounding like a Lil Baby Gunna beat. And 100 Mil was just a little too much of the singy songy stuff. But I do agree, Pride is the Devil had like, I liked his sung hook. I think he actually like when Cole was singing was like pretty good. It was more when it came to the verses to where I was like, I like do that on the hooks. But man, like we said, the hunger, the delivery, the flow when Cole's just in his pocket rapping is his strength, his biggest strength for me. So I wanted more of that. So that like middle portion with like Pride is the Devil, 100 Mil kind of like was a lull. And yeah, but overall, like I think those kind of, it went a little too mainstream for me at times, but I still like how he was trying new things. Like on the interlude, I think it actually sounded pretty cool and how these soulful things in the beats, even though it's kind of like a more modern sound. So what'd you think of him kind of venturing into that singy songy territory with the little babies and all that?
I think that it worked. It worked, but yeah, I do agree with the part where you said there were some parts which were not the best production wise, but as we've been talking about, right? The fact that he was willing to reach out to other producers, because people know this, Cole produces a lot of his own stuff, right? And the fact that he was reaching out to the Timberlands, you know, the Boy Wonders, you know what I mean? Don Mills, T minus, people like that. I'm looking at the Wikipedia right now.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was willing to reach out shows growth. in my point of view, right? It shows that he's willing to share the production, right? And you know, people used to make this argument about Nas, that Nas never picks a good beat, or and you know, I've heard those criticisms about Cole. Cole has some suspect beat selection and all that, but I'm like, I don't really feel that way. You know what I mean? I feel that once he shares his production, he can come up with great, like straight up magic, you know, as we just talked about, 2014 Forest Hill Drive. He produced a lot of that, but he also had other people there, you know what I mean? And that's a classic in my point of view, right? I really, as I said, I really enjoyed Born Sinner. He didn't produce all of it. He had some support in that, right? So I think, yes, sometimes the album does have a few lows, but you know, the fact that he made it short and quick, 36-ish minutes, right? It just gets like, if you hear like a song that you're not feeling that much, like for me, 100 mil, I didn't like it that much, or Punching the Clock, but I like Applying Pressure, and that came before that. You know, I liked Pride is Devil. I really like The Climb Back. I like Hunger on Hillside. I didn't really like Close that much, but it's like, you know, the fact that he's willing to share the production, and you know, yes, there are some laws in the album, but I think that's like most albums. Let's keep it a bean, you know. But the fact that he's willing to share the production was good, and you know what? I feel like he's gonna do that in the Fall Off when he releases that. So I feel like he's going to share a lot of the production. I low key thought that he'd release a deluxe, because that's that's what people do these days. But who knows? He might. Who knows?
He might,
But
yeah.
I really like the general album itself. Of course, no album's perfect in my point of view. There's some on and off songs, but you know, I was happy that he was willing to share the production. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, I think to your point about the, like when I was saying the lulls, I do think overall though, the fact that he made the album much more to the point. He had songs like, I think it's a trend at this point, which I really like in rap. Like we're getting to, sometimes it's even too short, but like I think we're finding a better mix in these like 35-minute albums where it's just like, okay, the beat, the hook, if there is a hook, and then you're just done. Unless the beat is like something crazy, just go to
Yes.
the next song. Don't like, and then if especially it leads itself to like, you know, if there's a song that's maybe not that great, don't make it go on for 5 minutes. Like the lull there was about like 6 to 7 minutes max, I think, in those two tracks that I mentioned, Pride is the Devil and 100 Mil. Amani too was kind of like, didn't love that song either.
Oh, you
Ghost
didn't like
was just,
Amani? I liked it a lot.
I didn't really love it. But again,
Okay.
I didn't really genuinely dislike anything here, but I did think like 100 Mil, Prize the Devil, Amani was kind of just, they were just like meh. Like I didn't really like them too much. But
Okay. All good.
overall, like as someone who doesn't love Cole, I think he did a lot of the things that I was hoping he would do. And I don't think this is maybe like up there. I know, I think it's up there with my favorites. I don't think it's my favorite Cole project. I think Friday Night Lights still probably does it for me.
Yeah.
And parts of the warm up, although that album has some fat to it, I think, yeah, I think I like this album. The lull hurt it, but I liked him getting out of his comfort zone. And for me, like this is like a low 7 kind of thing. I think it's
Okay.
still good. I think it's significant improvement on For Your Eyes Only, an improvement on KOD. And I think even though there was some like lack of execution with like some of those songs going too poppy, I think this means that the fall off has some real potential if he continues down this path to be like that album I wanted this one to be. So I wanted to get your final thoughts on like this album, and let's talk what you think the fall off may sound like.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, man. You know, some final thoughts. Obviously, we made it very clear from the beginning. I'm a Cole fan, major Cole fan. But I just want to make it clear to you and your audience and everybody, right? I'm not an extremist. Like I'm not one of them peoples who's rocking Dreamville gear head to toe. I do have criticisms, but you know what I'm saying? I'm just I'm a critical person, right? I try to look at all angles, right? For the most part, I try to be objective. Um, I think that the off season, one thing I really wanted to talk about or mention in general is that the off season is Cole being hungry and willing to reach out and willing to collaborate and willing to do more. Almost put I saw the documentary. He talked about how For Your Eyes Only and KOD, he was more so alone when he was doing those albums. Like literally he talked about being in a room working on beats by himself, working on the lyrics by himself. But the off season, he's willing to collab and reach out more. And that's huge for me. As a Cole fan, that brings me back to my favorite project as well, Friday Night Lights. That brings me back to Cold World, The Sideline Story. That's the first album I ever bought, period. You know what I mean? So it brings me back to that time. It brings me back to the Born Sinner days where Cole is saying, man, I'm just going to be hungry. I'm just going to go in and I'm going to be furious about it. And you know what? It coincides with him going to play basketball as well. You know what I'm saying? The Rwanda Patriots, for the basketball African League. I think that those two things coincide. Him going back to his roots of being a hungry, up-and-coming rapper, and him going to pursue his dream of playing professional basketball. It's not a coincidence. You know what I'm saying? Some could say, oh, it was a marketing scheme. Who cares? Who cares? I don't care if it's a marketing scheme. I love it. His whole label is called Dreamville for a reason. He's a dreamer, bruh. He's a dreamer. And he's trying to attain goals. And you can even feel it in the hunger within the album itself. For me, on my blog, I gave it a 4.9 out of 5. You know what I mean? If we're going on the 10 scale, I'm giving it, a 9.5. I love it. You know what I mean? But that's just me, right? And I believe a lot of critics are saying similar things. And for future projects, the fall off, I think the fall off is going to be similar to this. I think it's going to be similar to the off season because he's following. If you really think about it, right? He's following that basketball theme, the come up, the warm up, Friday Night Lights, Cold World, The Sideline Story. Now, flash forward. I mean, well, not flash forward, but go forward. The off season and then the fall off. Yeah, that. He did that on purpose. He's doing that on purpose. He's following a theme of a hooper, you know what I'm saying? A grinder, a dreamer, right? So what I'm trying to say is this, bro. I believe the fall off is going to be an amazing album if he stays in this pocket. If he stays in this pocket. If he goes back to the no features, the, the angsty, just solo, I'm going to do it all by myself, it won't be as good. Personally, I don't think it will be. But if he goes back to this bag, the bag of the off season, that Friday Night Lights bag, that Born Sinner bag, oh, it's gonna be phenomenal. I can't wait. And those are my final notes, my G.
Yeah. Thanks for that. I think I agree that if he stays in this bag, it'll be dope. I think my just based on like the theme, I have a feeling that the fall off. Hopefully he keeps the outside production because I think he can, I think that's going to push him no matter what. But I do imagine that he's going to be more introspective than on this album because the fall off makes you think like reflecting, like you're falling off in your career, like it's your last, and he's saying this is his last album. So I'm assuming it'll be more like reflective. And I think again, as long as he keeps to like himself, like I like it when he's introspective, just about like, himself, his career, that can be interesting versus trying to say all these things about society. I think that could be good. And if he still brings that hunger, and I think it could be something special. I really have high hopes for it. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Where can people find your stuff? Where can they find your content?
Yeah, man. Feel free to tap in with me at Bytown Blog. We try to, cover hip hop, cover the culture, cover Ottawa, you know what I'm saying, and cover Black issues within a Black male perspective, young Black male perspective. And, it's open for everybody, man. It's my passion project. I've been loving it. So check me out at Bytown Blog. I also have a YouTube channel, Big Baby J TV. I go in my DJ academics bag, hip hop commentary, culture commentary. I get goofy on that side, so tap in with that. And yeah, man, yeah, those are my main things. Follow me on Twitter, Sean Jean. I'll provide Rohan with the links
Yep.
on all that. And yeah, man, I really appreciate the time, Rohan, and you know what I'm saying, respect to your platform. And yeah, thank you for your time, bro.
I appreciate you coming on. I like the perspective you brought on this
Mhm.
album, and I'll include all the links in the description as per usual. And thank you again, and thanks everybody for listening. Peace.
Deuces.